Welcome to the Breaking Up With Burnout podcast. This is a space for high achievers who are tired of feeling exhausted and ready to reclaim your energy, joy, and purpose. I'm Tiffany Leader. I'm a therapist and a burnout coach, and someone who deeply understands what it's like to give your all while feeling like there's nothing left. You feel me? If you've ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure to do more, to be more, and push through, even when you're running on empty, you're not alone. And this podcast is for you. Each week, we'll have honest, heart-centered conversations about what it really takes to heal from burnout. You will hear from my guests and myself about our stories and how we have unpacked the patterns that keep us stuck, redefine what success is in our life, and explore how to create a life that feels as good as it looks. This is your permission to pause, breathe, and remember. You don't have to do it all to be worthy. You are already worthy just by who you are right now. Okay, let's navigate this journey together, one soulful step at a time. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Breaking Up With Burnout podcast. And I'm so excited, as I am with all of my guests. I'm just excited to introduce you to people that I have met and I feel have something that they are putting out into the world that is just amazing. And I want to highlight them. Today, I have my guest and my friend, Lexi. We just met on a Connect call. We're both clinical social workers, and I'm just excited to have her here and for you guys to hear from her. Lexi, thank you for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so tell the people a little bit about yourself and what are you up to in this world right now?
Yeah, so I'm a child therapist and parent coach. So I typically see kids 5 to 12, but go a little bit older as needed. And then I also work with parents without actually seeing their kids and focus on how parents can change some of their habits and respond the best way possible to support their child's behavior, any sort of intense emotions like that. And at any age when you work with kids, you need that parent involvement. So it's like a teamwork approach. I focus on very much skills-based, as that is how everything in life is. We have to build skills, right? If things are difficult, okay, what skills do we need to help in this situation? So it's very skills focused on both ends of things. And then I'm also, besides having my own therapy practice, in the process, actually we're almost there, of creating a parenting program. So both of those things going on right now. And I just moved from New York to Florida. So figuring out how to rebuild the business in a different market and in a different
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love that you're building out that you just don't do the therapy side, that you do the coaching as well, because I as well do that too. And I would love to hear from you what made you decide to do some parent coaching.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think just in my experience of working with children, no matter what, the parents have to be involved. I don't, maybe once in high school, right? But you have to be involved in some sort of way because young kids, especially in this 12 and under age range, the parents have to know at least the skills, right? They're not going to know everything that's going on in session, but the skills, because they need to be able to help them remember it outside of session. A 7-year-old's not really going to remember everything that we talked about. And so it's important that the parents are involved. But the other piece that really led me to this parent coaching concept and doing more parent coaching than seeing children is adults are what children look for, and our response to things, no matter if it's your parent, teacher, whoever it is, any adult in a child's life, our response means everything. It's how they learn their self-image. It's how they learn to just do everything. And so the way that we respond is the most important piece. The language that we use, how we communicate, focusing on their emotions first, trying to solve the problem later, which is really hard because obviously in certain moments we're like, oh my gosh, my child is upset. How do I fix this? What's wrong? We want that quick fix, right? And if we're in panic like that, it's just going to increase the behavior, the intense emotion. So really teaching parents how to respond, but then also how do they take care of themselves, right? Understanding that if your child is not in danger to themselves or others, it's okay to step aside for a minute, do what you need to do, use your own coping skills, and then respond because the response is so important.
Yeah, I think so too. When I worked with families, sometimes I would see other therapists work with just the kids in a silos. It's like we cannot work with them in silos, even if they're a little bit older, too. There's some individual treatment, but the parents are there to help guide and really supporting the whole system.
Yeah, and parents have to also understand, I think, what's going on in session. So I think that's really important. And something I also do with my individual child clients is I tell parents ahead of time, yes, communicate with me. I want to know what's going on. If there's a new skill, I can teach you how to use that. But also, I'm going to check in via email every 6 to 8 weeks just to see how things are going. And if we think that we need a bigger parenting session, let's do it. Just because I think the communication is so important. I like thrive off of communication, but it really is great. And I think when you're working with children as well, they need to see that there's a united front and everyone is working to support them, right? That they're not doing anything wrong. We as adults are going, okay, where's their difficulties? Again, how do we teach them the skills? How do we support them in a way that works best for their brain?
Yeah, I love that you said that you are skills-based because I think parents and children, we all need new skills.
Yeah.
To do things better, to help us move forward in life, and learning those skills. I think it's just imperative. Theory's great, but the skill part is the implementation of those different theories.
Yeah, 100%. But really everything is skills in life. I don't think sometimes we sit back and we're like looking at it. I actually had this conversation with one of my clients who's 10 the other day, and they were like, oh yeah. I was like, how do you think you get up in the morning, right? How do you go to school? You're learning the routine, the skills, remembering the right. And so like really showing kids too, like these are skills. We have to build these skills and it's not easy and we can do it. We just have to work on it 1,000 times, but it'll get there.
Yeah, yeah. So that kind of begs the question for me as far as like the burnout lens is like, where do you see burnout in maybe your clients when it comes to like skill building and maybe yourself or other therapists that you have worked with?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think from a parenting standpoint and parent burnout, definitely see it. I think I wouldn't say there's a stigma behind it, but it's just not talked about.
Right.
Really not. And I can imagine that's probably from the shame or even embarrassment that parents are actually feeling that way. But it's also the strongest, most empowering thing they can do by just saying, I am burnt out. That goes so much further. We always tell kids the first step is labeling their emotions. Same thing with parent burnout, it's just that self-awareness and recognizing it, right? If we keep pushing and we're exhausted, it's just going to get worse. So we see that a lot. And also, if you have a child who maybe has more intense behaviors or more intense emotions, you do see that parent burnout. And what ends up happening is, so I just take a step back. I focus a lot with parents on the idea of responding versus reacting. So responding is thoughtful, you're more logical, you're able to focus on not only your emotions, but your child's emotions. You're not responding off of impulses. Whereas reacting is responding based off of your emotions, your reaction. Oh my gosh, I need this behavior to stop. How do I fix it? Maybe you're out in public and you're like, oh my gosh, how do we stop this right now? And then in doing that, we're escalating our child's behavior as well, because again, we need to be the calm, right? To help our child's behavior kind of come down a little bit. Being calm and focusing on emotions is actually the first step to get anybody, frankly, but children to start to calm down, right? So we don't want to meet their kind of behavior at the same place. We need to connect both of the emotional minds and start to calm down. But then what also happens when we're reacting and we're exhausted and we want the behavior to stop is that empty threat. So if you don't do this, I'm taking your iPad away. That's such a common one with social media these days. And yes, that helps in the short term, but what we want to work on is the long term, right? So using consequences, that teach and connect are really important. But what happens in those moments of burnout and just wanting the behavior to stop is we give out those empty threats and then we forget to follow through on them. And that's a whole other can of worms, right? Because as parents, you have to follow through. Even if you're like, you can have this, and you're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't have said that. You got to do it because you don't want your kids to see that your word doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that's so good. And I feel like too, that's so common because of burnout. Because it's like, what can I do? What's the quick fix? But like you said, when you can build those skills where you're connecting the emotional minds and you're having those consequences in the long run, it actually, like in the long run, I feel like it prevents burnout because you have a more confidence in the skill that you're working on.
Yeah, definitely. And I always tell parents too, again, you can step away for a minute if, they're safe. And I'm always like, because I send follow-up emails with the summary kind of what we discussed, because I want parents to not be, they're welcome to take notes, but not be so focused on writing everything down that I say so they can really be in the moment and learning. And I send a follow-up email of different scripts or topics. And I'm like, step away for a second, maybe read through the email just so you feel like, okay, I know what to do, especially as you're getting used to this. And some of these skills aren't yet second nature. So helping them remember, but we forget to do that right when we're exhausted because again, we want the quick fix, which is understandable, right? Parent burnout is so real. And it's not even just if your kids have really intense emotions, behaviors, etc. It's also maybe you have a child who's in 15,000 after school activities and you have multiple kids and you're lugging them around everywhere. All of
Yeah.
that is really hard. So it's not just in this concept of child who's anxious, etc. It's like you have a really busy schedule. Plus, you're working. And so you don't have time for kind of that like self-care. And something that I just want to really emphasize with parent burnout is the self-care component. And I think a lot of times we think self-care and it's like, go to the spa, take a couple hours for a massage, do this, go on vacation. And if that's your choice, great, go ahead and do it. But I think we have to be more realistic with what that self-care looks like. And so simple things like, okay, this might not be your favorite thing, but let's wake up 10 minutes earlier than you would typically wake up your child for school. Lay in bed and breathe, do some meditations. Maybe that means scrolling on social media, but having those moments to yourself, coffee to yourself, right? Whatever it is. I also encourage a lot of my parents to like say some affirmations to themselves, but not just like the personal affirmations. I'm a great parent. I'm doing the best that I can do. Some more parent focused ones, because if you're also burnt out, you're dreading starting the day.
No, I love that. And that's why, like, for me, I coined the term take a moment
Mhm.
practices and micro moments of wellness because I think that's exactly what's realistic for everybody, but specifically with parents that have full schedules with their kids.
Absolutely.
It's like, it's not realistic some days to take 30 minutes to go for a walk. But what if you just leaned against the wall and took 5 really great
Right.
deep breaths before you re enter the room? Child.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I love that because, like you said, I think it's reframing what self-care and redefining self-care.
100%. People think it's a big thing and it can be so little. I also encourage too, because what can happen with parent burnout is conflict with your parenting partner, if you have one, in not only just like your separate relationship, because your cup is filled, you're exhausted. And so just in general, the communication is going to be difficult, but also in your agreement and how things should be handled with your child's behavior and what the response should be. And so more times than not, you're butting heads, right? And maybe one parent is taking over more of the parenting because the other one's needing to back off or right, whatever it is. And so when that's happening, I also tell parents, I'm like, you can do this over text, you can do this however you want. Once or twice a day, send the other person something positive about themselves or something you're proud of themselves for. And it doesn't have to be just from the parenting standpoint. Yes,
Yeah.
maybe one, but just focusing on your relationship as well and what you're doing well, and even what your kid is doing well that you guys notice, just to bring a little bit of that. Okay, we feel terrible and we're exhausted, but like we need to see the positive things because they're there. And when we're burnt out, it's so much harder to see the positives. It's almost like it feels impossible. So taking that minute and saying, hey, do this activity, it is self-care. It's a text message even, I think goes a really long way.
Yes, yes. I like to call those glimmers. And I didn't coin it, but I've heard that phrase a lot. And it's like miracle hunting. Also, I did not coin that phrase either. But both of them I love because it was like, it is harder to when you're burnt out or frustrated or overwhelmed or even trying to learn new skills. It's like your brain is like, what is this kind of stuff
Right.
that's happening? But when we can look for those glimmers or we start miracle hunting, it helps. It's almost like it's a pressure valve that's released from the stress of
Yeah.
it all in order to come back to homeostasis in your body or just coming back to a place where you feel content and okay.
Yeah, 100%. And I think that's so important. And sometimes that is even the parents building separate skills, parenting and just like
Exactly.
their own self-awareness and recognizing what they need in those moments. Because they have to take care of themselves or it's just going to be a mess otherwise. Parents have to take care of themselves. And I know that sounds so hard. And as a parent, you're like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. That's impossible. But you have to in order to be the best parent you can be. And that's why these small glimmers, which I love, by the way, I'm going to use that. These small
Yes.
glimmers are so important.
Yes, yes, they are because That's what provides lasting change, and it's doable.
Yeah.
Taking that deep breath, or like you said, 10 minutes earlier before you get out of bed and start your day, to just breathe or relax, or 30 seconds outside in the sun. All of these different things that we're talking about can do wonders for your brain and for your body, and doing them throughout the day helps you, again, it relieves the pressure valve. That's what that keeps coming to mind. It's like stress is this pressure that is built up in our brains and our bodies, and if we don't get it a pressure valve release, it's either going to explode on other people or we're going to implode on ourselves.
Exactly. Our temperature, all of that's just gonna whoop and shoot up. That goes with anything, right? Our cup is overflowing, we're exhausted, it makes things so much harder. But I've also found with burnout and just in general in my parenting sessions, and this is actually with all therapy, but like education is the most important part because it helps parents who are frustrated of like, why are they doing this? They know better than to do this. All of those things, understand more about the behavior and kind of what's causing it and what questions as a parent do I need to ask myself to go, okay, what does my child need? Because a lot of times, not all the times, it's a lot like just the hierarchy of needs. Did they sleep last night? Are they hungry when they last have a snack? And those are things that as a parent you can do. And so just understanding more about the behavior. And then it's also the mindset shift around it. Like they're doing this on purpose. Okay, what makes you say that, right? This is what's going on. And so that education is super important, or even teaching them a mindset shift that I talk about all the time is do with, not for, right? So instead of doing for kids, right? So here's your routine for school, build it with them. And that can be as simple as, do you want to brush your teeth first or get dressed first? And it also makes it more successful because the kids are involved. They have that autonomy from it. They're excited and they feel like they're not just being told what to do. And by doing that helps with parent burnout. One, because it's a fun way to make the routine. It's not just you doing it. And it's more likely that your child's going to follow through on it. So it makes it so much easier for you. So just like little mindset shifts like that, I think are important as well for burnout.
Yep, I love that because also too, like you said, I always say give a choice, which gives a voice.
Yeah.
And anytime we can do that to anybody, but especially with kids, I've even done that with like my nieces, and they're like, oh, I'm gonna choose this. And they get so excited about it.
Exactly. And they start to learn to them what they like. Building self-awareness is like the most important thing. And they're little kids. We have to help them learn what they do and don't like. And that's super important.
It is. No, I love that. Okay, you mentioned a new program, so I'd love for you to share about your new program.
Okay, so for the past year and a half or so, I've been creating a parenting platform. It's called A Parent, lowercase a, capital P, so A Parent, not two P's, right? Because that can be confusing, but it's called A Parent. And our approach really sets us apart because we're about the long-term solutions and not the quick fixes. And going on a Google search, you get that quick fix, but then you also get one person saying this, one person saying that, right? All this confusion, whereas we're focused on giving parents the fundamentals so that way they can feel like they know their skills, they're confident, and we're empowering them to eventually navigate all of parenting on their own.
So I love it. I'm just so excited when I hear you say that. I'm like, yes, how do we give access to this to people? Because it's so needed.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of skill building within it. So things from learning how to actively ignore or provide alternative behaviors and really understanding that. But then there's also behavior guides that are more specific within those skills. So it's not just here are your skills, do the thing. It's here are your skills, learn them. And now let's go through more specific behaviors and how you can apply those exact same skills within each one.
Yeah.
That's how it's looking. And then, of course, there's a blog and downloads and templates. So when we talk about morning routines, there's templates on there just to give parents more of an idea of what that could be.
Yeah, I love it. You may not, but do you have a estimated launch for this new program, or you still
by the time this is up, it'll be and so it's aparent.info is the website. So again, it's APARENT.info. I almost just spelled it wrong. So aparent.info. And so we're getting all of our social media and all of those things running. It is subscription based, so it's monthly. And right now we're just excited and putting it out there and getting feelers and seeing people's reactions. There's also too, we just briefly talked about like the consequences and following through. Have you heard the term logical consequences before?
Yes, I
Okay,
have.
so logical consequences for people who don't know are consequences that connect and teach. So it can be very hard for kids to learn anything, frankly, if, okay, they hit their sibling, now iPad's taken away. There's no connection in what are we really teaching them. So that goes back to the quick fix in the short term, whereas logical consequences connect and teach. And so there's a connection to what the behavior is and then the consequence, right? So if they hit their sibling, it could be something like you have to apologize, and the apology has to be more than just I'm sorry, right? It's I'm sorry for blank. Here's what I'll do next time. And then something like, okay, how do you make it up to your sibling? How do you show them that you care about them? If you broke their toy, figuring out how to fix it to the best of your ability, right? With age, you might need a parent's help, but things like that that are also more activity based and hands-on, so they're actually learning. And so we have an interactive tool on our platform that you can type in a behavior. It gives you the logical consequence for the first time the behavior happens and if it continues. So there's a bunch of different choices that you can choose from. So behaviors, and it's also based on age. So we've sectioned the ages off so parents can filter in the age and what the behavior is.
Yay. I'm like, I love this
Thank you.
so much. I think it's going to be such a great tool for parents to have, and just to have access to that, of because we all know, like, when our brains, when we're in conflict or something's going on and we want to do the right thing, but our brains are going offline or we're frozen because we're not sure what to do, then they can look up this tool that you have and program that you have to be able to, like, okay, what are we going to do? What's that going to look like?
Yeah.
And like you said, build that skill for
Yeah.
them to do something different.
The fundamentals are the greatest thing. Because I think what's often sometimes hard is, especially with like the quick Google search, whatever it is, you're getting so many opinions. And
Right.
okay, for this behavior, it said this, but it said something completely different for a different behavior. And so it gets really confusing. And so by us just focusing on here are your fundamentals, right? Here's how you then apply it to every behavior. Obviously, there's tweaks and little things based off the behavior, but for the most part, you're already going to have your toolbox. You're not pulling from something new for every single behavior. That's too much for any human being, parent or not, to keep up with. It's not sustainable. And I even say that for coping skills with my kids. I'm like, we're going to try a bunch because we need to see what works best for you. But like, you don't need 30 coping skills. You need maybe 2 or 3, or just understanding that when I feel blank, I need this because it's too much. And you're going to feel anxious, for example, and then go, wait, I'm even more anxious because I don't know which coping skill to choose. So it's that same idea of like less is more. And here's my skills and my fundamentals. Here's how I can apply it for the long term, not the short term.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be great. I love it. And I will be sharing it. We'll put the link in the show notes as well, so that you guys that are listening, that you have access to it. So by the time this comes out, that it'll be out there and you can click on the button and look at it and see all the things about it. That's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah. A question I like to ask everybody on the podcast is, what are you doing to break up with burnout?
I don't know. I will say for me, I don't know what I experience with burnout because I like to make my sessions really creative and really hands-on and very much tailored to the child. So if the child is interested in soccer, all of my like analogies and metaphors or scenarios, right, that we're practicing or role playing are going to be soccer based, right? So they're interested and they're engaged. And what I have found is as I'm feeling burnt out or when I am, my creativity
Flatline.
done
Yeah.
for. Yeah. And I like can't, I'm like, what am I even going to do for session? My sessions are very interactive and hands-on and structured. And so I'm just like, I have no idea what to do. And then I'm more stressed going into the sessions because I'm like, I got nothing. I got nothing in my head right now. So
Yeah.
that's always, I think, for me, what I experience. And just being on a computer all day long is really hard for me. So I do work out every morning, which is my like calm and what I need, and it gets the adrenaline going. And then I also, after work, shut my computer.
Yeah.
I just turn it off. I'm not really on it either on the weekends. I work from home a lot, and I make sure that I'm not on my computer doing work anywhere but my office. So like I'm not sitting on the couch doing administrative work. I'm not sitting wherever it is. Like I am at my desk. So there's also that separation, which helps a lot.
Yeah, that separation does help, and having that transition is super helpful. And and just like creating more separation in your mind and physically as well.
Yes. And sometimes it's rare, I like to do my sessions back to back, but if I have big chunks of time for whatever reason, I try and sit in the sun a little bit. That's always helpful. I probably could do more, but yeah.
Yeah, but whatever works.
Yes.
Whatever works for you. Like you said, just whatever is like those fundamental skills that like really help relieve that pressure valve. And me too. I'm a sun sitter too. I was just sitting out there a little bit before the call I had before this one. And I was like, I'm just gonna like chill, enjoy the sun, enjoy the breeze, and then I'm good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, Lexi, thank you so much for being here and just sharing like your brilliance and the things that you are bringing into this world. Let the people know where they can find you.
Yeah, a couple of places. So my website is alexawernickpsychotherapy.com. My Instagram handle is the same. And those are the two main ways that you can come to me and check me out and see the things that I'm doing. I've been posting a lot more on social media, although it is incredibly difficult, but post more reels and all of those different things too, so you can get a sense of who I am and how I talk and all of those different things and go from there.
Awesome. And I will also put our website and Instagram in the show notes so you guys have access to her that way as well. And Lexi, thank you so much for being here.
Of course. Thank you for having me. It's been wonderful.
Yes, I loved it. All right, you guys, thank you so much for listening in again to the Breaking Up With Burnout podcast. And we'll see you